Hey, what's up, everybody? Chris here, and I just finished kind of an afternoon Lego build. I started on this yesterday, but really it's small enough to where I think if someone were determined, they could certainly do it in a day, like in a morning and an afternoon, whatever. I just took a little break sort of in the process. But the story here is I got my 9-year-old son the Sonic the Hedgehog Lego set, the Lego Idea set. It's number 039. It is for 18 and older, so I should have really thought about that when I got it for him, but kind of sat in the box for a couple months, and he just finally was like, look, I don't really think I want to build this, but obviously, Dad, if you want to build it, go build it. And I've been a Sonic the Hedgehog fan pretty much my whole life. I mean, as long as Sega's been around. I had a Sega Genesis when I was a kid. That would have been, I don't know, like middle schoolish, something like that for me. So not my whole life, but a long time. So I put it together. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the experience and kind of what the end result looks like, and just show you a couple of things and kind of talk about whether or not I think it's worth the price tag. I think I paid 80 bucks for this at Target, I believe it was. So we'll kind of jump into that. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is the manual. So I love a good Lego manual. The thing that I really enjoy about this is that it has a little bit of a progress meter. So you can see as you're building it, it sort of gives you an idea of how much longer you have to go, sort of what your progress looks like. But I wanted to show you too, just because I think it's a super cool little touch here. When you get through certain levels, the progress that you're making on the Lego set is kind of like the progress in the game, in that you go ahead and place a Chaos Emerald in sort of this pedestal that you can put Sonic on. You can see sort of what that looks like when it's completed. It's pretty cool. It's a nice touch if you don't want to have Sonic in the diorama itself, which I think I'll keep him there just for simplicity's sake, but that is kind of a cool thing that they do. So again, I like the book. I think it's pretty awesome. I'll show you some of the features of the actual set here. So this is the box. Again, 18 and older, and this was something that I picked up for my 9-year-old, so maybe not the best idea in the world. And I would have helped him build it if he wanted to. And he does like Sonic. I think he just doesn't really have the patience for Lego. It's just not one of his things that he loves. My 12-year-old loves Lego. For Henry, my youngest, it's just not his thing. But let's take a quick look at the set itself. So I just finished it. I think that it looks super duper cool. So I mean, you can see there's a lot of little details here, right? You can look at the water and see how there's kind of a ripple effect in the water. You've got one of the robot crab monster things. Even putting together the tree, right? It's just a lot of little parts that you can sort of move around. I don't know if you can kind of see that here, but you can sort of move it around, pose it as you want to. Sonic himself is a cool minifigure. I think the rings that he carries, or the ring that he carries singular, and then the rings on the set itself, you can see those here, look really nice. There's a nice touch here where they try to make it look like the display from the game, where you can see the number of lives you have. And actually, I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but when you get further along in the build and you're putting together the boxes where you get sort of power-ups, that sort of thing, you can decide what you want to put on this. So I have a couple of extra ones that are left over for like an extra life, a force field around Sonic, that sort of thing. So pretty cool. They give you sort of a tall, translucent set of Lego rods to put the rings on, so it looks like they're floating. So, when you're playing the game and you're jumping, you see that. I think the bridge effect looks really cool, how that's set up. I mean, you can see sort of the components there that make that. The only thing I would say, though, is that these sort of enemies are not things that really sort of like fasten onto the set itself. They just sort of sit there, which I think is a little bit of a not great touch to this. Like, I kind of wish that they attached to it a little bit more forcefully. I mean, I guess if I were to find somewhere else on here, I could put it like, on one of these pegs or something. But when you look at the display, and actually now that I'm looking at the display on the box, they're showing a different area than they showed in the back of the book. So let me open up the back of the book and I'll show you what they sort of suggested there. So maybe I've got these in the wrong place, and that is just a total faux pas on my part. Yeah, I mean, you can see in the book they're reversed. So I think actually when you look at the box, it makes more sense, right? Because the little crab thing can clamp on up top. So I'm gonna reverse those here in just a little bit so you can see that. But anyway, the checkpoint is here, and you can flip that around. I believe you should be able to do that. So if I turn it, right, as if Sonic had, I guess, died and then had to sort of start from that checkpoint. So cool little touch like that, that's part of it. I think the sort of circle, roller coaster, roundabout, those are all probably the wrong terms. The ring that he runs through in the game, it looks really nice. I think the boxes themselves look really cool too. You can see the enemy construction, what that looks like. There are a lot of stickers with this set, which is a little bit of a pain, but most of the sort of checkered patterns you get here are, in fact, little Lego nibs, little pieces. So that's kind of nice. I sort of appreciated that. And actually, this red sort of spring that's from the game does jump up. Yeah, so you can see you can push a lever, you can jump Sonic up. I haven't actually tried him on that yet because I don't want him to jump off and break, but they sort of show that spring action as part of the set itself. Some more rings there at the end. And then one of the cooler little touches here is you get Dr. Robotnik, and he's sort of his own little build in and of himself. And they've got him where he's floating in his, Robotnik flying device, which is super cool. So yeah, I think for the price, if you're a Sonic fan, it's a nice little display piece. I will say though that it's a little bit smaller than I was expecting. So, it's 1,125 pieces, but it's not something that's going to take up a ton of space, which I guess depending on your perspective is good, because I just finished building the Lego DeLorean, and that one was gigantic, by comparison. Of course, it costs twice as much, also a little more than twice as much actually. So, but I think this is nice because I actually have an old CRT TV that I keep in my office upstairs for gaming and like DVD, VHS, that sort of stuff. So it'll fit nicely on top of that as kind of a display piece. So yeah, I think for the money, it's a good sort of investment if you're a Sonic fan. It's not one that I would normally just buy for myself, but it was sitting here. I couldn't return it. Because I love video games and Lego in general, I thought, why not just put it together? I do have one other new set that I'm going to work on soon, the Galaxy Explorer, which I'm super excited about. So anyway, my thoughts on that will be coming soon. So anyway, I just finished building this here in my dining room and just thought I'd give you my 2 cents on it. If you have this Sonic set, let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. Do you think it's worth the money? Do you think it's a little bit overpriced? Do you wish they had done some things different with it? Again, I would say it's a pretty fun build overall. There are some aggravating moments, like putting all those little, sort of alternating brown and sort of lighter brown nibs together to get the checkerboard pattern. That gets a little bit old, but for the most part, it was a fun build. So anyway, those are my thoughts. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll check back in soon.